We want to start with an overall look at the unique challenges that are faced by African Americans when they reach their golden years. Joining me now is author Raymond Jetson, whose new book is titled Aging While Black. Raymond, welcome to our town hall.
Stephen, thank you so very much. It is a joy to connect with you and to be a part of this important conversation.
Yeah. So let's start here. Aging While Black, the title itself intimates the unique circumstances that African Americans face in this space, caregiving. Of course, I always say that if you take any situation and add race or racial dimension to it, race is often an aggravator in that situation. It makes things more difficult, more challenging, or worse. Talk about the unique circumstances here that affect aging for our community.
So thank you again. I would say in the book that I just wrote, the top line statement is that aging in America is not a race-neutral experience. And so very often we talk about aging and the critical components of aging as if it is a universally shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that for African Americans, the American experience has been different in every way. So why wouldn't it be when it comes to aging? And in particular, as it relates to caregiving, we first of all find the tension between the systemic inequities that exist and the cultural expectations that are attached to caregiving. And so the economic strain that caregiving places, especially on Black women who reduce their work hours or exit the workforce early to provide caregiving services to family members and loved ones, which leads to lower retirement savings and financial insecurity later in life. We have health disparities, which are well documented, that Black elders are more likely to experience chronic conditions that require caregiving. And you couple that with the complex needs in a healthcare system that lacks cultural competency as a general statement, you will see how these things are aggravated. And then in terms of our community, there is this strong cultural value placed on taking care of our own, which causes people to oftentimes bear circumstances in ways that are not healthy for them or the people in which they seek to provide care. And then lastly, I would suggest that Black elders and caregivers are often overlooked or underrepresented in mainstream aging services.
Mm-hmm.
And this cacophony of circumstances creates a situation where aging while Black and caregiving while Black is aggravated greatly.
Yeah. So what's your hope for this book in terms of how it might change the conversation about how we care for the aging population among African Americans and how we care for those of us who care for the aging in our population?
So the hope, first of all, for the book is to spark important conversations about what is happening with aging in America and Black aging in particular. The book is connected to the Aging While Black movement, which rests upon three pillars that we think are appropriate to every aspect of the aging experience. The first is recalibrate the village. The village has deep and important roots in the African American tradition. We must intentionally rebuild and strengthen the community networks so that caregiving is shared and not this noble weight that we carry individually in our communities. We need to develop cooperative caregiving models and community leadership groups so that we are thinking collectively about how we address this very serious and only exacerbating need. There are 11,000 people in America who reach the age of 65 every day.
Mhm.
This started a few years ago and will continue until the year 2040. In the next 20 years, a trend will continue where the number of Black people over the age of 65 will triple from 4 million to 12 million. The infrastructure in our community is ill-equipped to deal with this. And so we need to be intentionally thoughtful in our families, in our communities, in our anchor institutions, in the organizations that serve Black people. The second pillar of aging while Black is embracing innovation. And so how do we use technology to bridge this gap? There's a brilliant brother in Aurora, Aurora, Colorado, Brandon Peterkin, who's created an app called Finished that allows for caregiving services to be secured by aging people and their families to be involved. And that's just an example of how we need to maximize the use of technology. And the last pillar of aging while Black is leaning into Sankofa.
Mm.
How do we view aging Black people as valuable resources rather than someone in need of care? We are having an increasing number of accomplished, experienced, determined people who are going to be showing up in our communities. In just 9 years, in 2034, there will be more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. How do we turn that into a resource? How
Yeah.
do we create spaces for younger generations to connect with older generations to address the issue impacting them both at the same time?
Yeah, yeah. So you've spent your career kind of working in spaces that are adjacent to this issue, if not right in the center of it. You were a member of the legislature in Louisiana. You were Deputy Secretary of Health, and you worked as a pastor. So tell me about those experiences in those spaces and the things that you've kind of picked up about aging in the African American community in those different places. What do those challenges look like in those various arenas?
What I discovered, whether it was in the legislature, where my office was in the neighborhood that I grew up in, or the State Department of Health and Hospitals, where I led a gubernatorial Blue Ribbon Commission on long-term care, or pastoring the congregation that I grew up in. One of the things that was consistent is that our systems and structures were ill-equipped to meet the needs of aging people in our communities, especially aging Black people. And so we found people and families facing crisis situations over and over and over again, and there was an inadequate systemic response. And so we had to do things differently in order to respond to the needs that are present in communities. And those circumstances still exist. And one of the hopes in the movement that is Aging While Black is that we can create this coordinated and collective response across the country because the issues remain the same. And you talk about being adjacent, allow me to take you in direct proximity. For the last 2.5 years, I have been the primary caregiver for my 91-year-old mom. So Aging While Black is not a theory or a research project for me. It's an everyday lived experience.
Yeah, yeah. As we were saying at the open, this is not a matter for anybody of if you will become involved with caregiving. It's a matter of when, and just as you are caregiving for your mother, I have recently found myself in the position of having to provide more support for my mom, who's also aging and needs more. So let's talk about that space for a second and the things that you've drawn from that experience, that personal experience with a family member who needs your help, How has that changed the way that you think about this?
The lessons are deep and abiding, and one of my prayers is that I will be able to continually share them in ways that have meaning and connection for others. The first that I've learned is that I can't shoulder this alone.
Mm.
This is not a test of my individual mettle or my determined spirit. I need to include family and friends and community resources. And my mom has been active in her church for 70 years. I need to make certain that this is not a litmus test on Raymond Jetson's love for his mother. This is not an individual experience. Secondly, it's really important, Stephen, to know your limits, to know your boundaries in so many ways. I know that there are some moments that it's really not healthy for me to be in conversation with my mom because I've become too aggravated or I'm too bothered by other things. And I need to communicate when I'm tired or when I am not feeling well. And so know my limits and communicate them clearly. I also think that it is important to identify groups that center Black caregiving experiences. There aren't enough of them, and I have found that the traditional Asian ecosystem is culturally illiterate when it comes to the importance of community and faith and tradition in the African American experience. You got to prioritize your own health. I am of no good to my mom when I'm sick. And so I have to stay on top of my medical appointments, eat well, exercise, get my own rest. And then lastly, whatever those practices are that feed your spirit and connect you to your roots, lean into them heavily because we need to be grounded in order to be of support to the others that we care and love about.
Yeah, yeah. Reminder to our audience that if you have questions, put them in the comments and we will get them into the conversation here. Raymond, before I let you go, talk about how we find joy and inspiration in this space. I mean, we have been talking about it as a challenge, which it is, but one of the things that I've experienced over the last 3 years where I've had to give more care and support to my mom is these little moments where I'm experiencing things that I never experienced with her in my entire life, and where our relationship changes for the better in some cases because we're spending more time. I feel like that's an important dimension of this as well, and it's important for us to take note of those things and to look for them when we're in this situation.
Yeah, Stephen, you just mentioned a critical ingredient, which is being intentional about creating these moments of joy. And I emphasize the word create intentionally. I was listening to a radio program earlier today, and the speaker said something that just really resonated with me. He said, "Our joy is created, it's not discovered." And so we have to be intentional about creating it and recognizing that the relationship is different. I am seeing a side of my mom now. I am hearing stories about her childhood and able to ask questions about elders in our family and other things. And it's a joy to create space for her to share and you know, my mom gave me a Father's Day card where she wrote in there how proud she was of me on being a successful author. And it was, I mean, I have it in the room now. It's still just something that brings about a smile to my spirit. And so I think we have to be intentional about creating those moments of joy, leaning into that inner strength and creativity. The last thing I'll say is I am a golf addict, Stephen. And so every now and then getting to the first tee is my source of joy.
That's right. That's right. It's been really wonderful to talk with you about your book and your experiences. Raymond Jetson, thanks so much for being with us for our town
Thank
hall.
you very much. Thank you.